Well, Marvel Studios and Sony has a lot of plans for Spider-Man moving forward in the MCU, in the Sony Spider-Verse, and even in the animated Spider-Verse, it looks like. And for those who are worried about the future of Spider-Man after Avengers Secret Wars, don't worry, he's going to be a major part of the MCU moving forward, and it looks like Miles Morales is also going to be coming in and is going to be a major part of the Spider-Man world. So a lot to talk about, but first, big thank you to Marvel Contest of Champions for sponsoring this video. You all may know that I love this game. I have been casually playing this game for years. It's been around for a long time, but they keep coming up with amazing updates and adding amazing characters to make it just as good as it was all those years ago. The game now has over 250 characters. And what's awesome is December is going to be packed with events in Marvel's Contest of Champions, including the game's 9-year anniversary. There's 3 big events that are coming. One is the Onslaught event, wielding the powers of both Professor Xavier and Magneto. He's going to be a super strong champion and a challenge to summoners. And then we have a really hilarious holiday themed event, I'm Not That Guy in a Red Suit, where Red Guardian assembles a team to put an end to mistaken Santa Claus letters. And of course, to top it all off, as I mentioned, we have the anniversary event from December 10th through the 17th, where there are going to be a lot of amazing awards you can get, plus rotating quests to enhance your champions. It's going to be packed in December. So if you want to try it out or you want to get back into it, you can use the link in my description down below to download it. It is free to download on the App Store and Google and start to have an amazing time. Now, in regards to Tom Holland Spider-Man, he is going to be pretty much the main character moving forward in the MCU. According to the insider My Time to Shine Hello, who talked about this about a week ago, Tom Holland will be the lead of the next 2 Avengers films, so both the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. There was a little bit of panic, there was some fear out there that Spider-Man might not make it past Avengers Secret Wars. And this was because of a few things. We know that Marvel Studios is going to be rebooting the MCU, at least a soft reboot. And we've heard from Joanna Robinson, the author of MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, that Kevin Feige is pretty much going to take this soft reboot as an opportunity to kind of cut out what doesn't work and keep what does work. But don't worry, Spider-Man works. He's been working extremely well for the MCU and for Sony for a pretty long time now, with the Homecoming trilogy being an absolute knock out of the park for Marvel and Sony's, plus the projects that Spider-Man has appeared in the MCU as well have done incredibly well. He is one of the most loved characters of all time. So even after Avengers Secret Wars, Tom Holland is going to be sticking around as Spider-Man. In fact, if what we have heard about his contract is true, he'll have 2 more Spider-Man films to complete after Secret Wars, Spider-Man 5 and Spider-Man 6. We've only heard that Spider-Man 4 is going to come before Avengers Secret Wars. So don't worry about Spider-Man's future in the MCU. However, we have heard that Miles Morales is indeed going to be coming to the MCU in the Spider-Man films soon. However, this might be a little bit more complicated than just regular Spider-Man in the MCU because of the rights with Sony. According to the insider My Time to Shine Hello, Miles Morales is going to appear in the new Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, meaning Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6 in the MCU. So obviously that would bring Miles into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is awesome news and doesn't come as that big of a surprise, especially since producer Amy Pascal confirmed on the red carpet for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse to Variety that a live-action Miles Morales project and Spider-Woman project were both in the works right now. And she stated, "You'll see all of it." So she confirmed a live-action Miles Morales is coming. The only question is, are there going to be 2 different Miles Moraleses, one in the MCU and one in the Sony Spider-Verse? Although it would be a very Sony move to have 2 different versions of the character exist in 2 different universes, we know that Marvel Studios really fought against Sony to have Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, in the Venom movies because they didn't want to confuse people and make them confuse and switch up the universes with each other, the Sony universe and the MCU. So with Miles coming to the MCU, I would kind of assume that it would be sort of the same thing, that they wouldn't want to get the universes confused, and he would simply join the MCU, and maybe if Sony wanted to at some point in time, they could bring him over. We know Sony is trying to build up to a pretty big Spider-Geddon Spider-Verse event in which Tom Holland Spider-Man will probably jump over as well. Plus, we are getting more and more teases for Spider-Man in Sony's Spider-Verse. Madam Web is even introducing Ben Parker, Peter Parker's father. But could they have plans to introduce their own characters outside of the MCU? That remains a mystery right now. Either way, it looks like there is going to be a lot coming for Spider-Man and Miles Morales. And according to My Time to Shine Hello, Miles is entering the MCU, and this is most likely and sadly happening so Miles Morales can actually take the spot of the main Spider-Man in the MCU. If what we heard about Tom Holland's contract is true, then Tom Holland is only going to have 2 or 3 films after Avengers Secret Wars, and then he is most likely going to be done with the character. At that point in time, he'll have played the character for a pretty long time, and he's already stated multiple times that as an actor, he doesn't want to play the character for too long, and he would love for somebody else to come in, somebody young and very passionate, to take over that mantle. And it looks like that character that's going to come in could be Miles Morales. Instead of simply replacing a Peter Parker, we are going to get a Miles Morales. Now the only question really is, when exactly is Miles Morales going to come into the MCU? Well, the insider My Time to Shine Hello last week simply said in Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, talking about multiple movies. So one would assume the latest that we'll see Miles is Spider-Man 5. Maybe he doesn't come in Spider-Man 4, the next film, but even speaking story-wise and continuity-wise, it would make sense to have him at least show up in Spider-Man 5, especially if he is going to take the spot of Tom Holland's Peter Parker. It would make sense to introduce him in 5, start setting him up, start building him up, and then in 6, which would be Tom Holland's farewell, officially pass on the mantle to him. So of course there is the possibility that Miles could show up in Spider-Man 4, however he just might not don a Spider-Man suit yet. He could meet Peter Parker at Feast, since that is a story that we're all familiar with. And they set up Feast in the last film, Spider-Man No Way Home. So he might cameo in Spider-Man 4, and of course there is the possibility that he could get involved with Peter Parker's Spider-Man as soon as Spider-Man 4. But if they gradually work up to it, we're probably looking at an introduction to Miles, just Miles, in Spider-Man 4. Then in Spider-Man 5, we see Miles Morales as Spider-Man training under Peter Parker, and then in Spider-Man 6, he'll take on the mantle of the new Spider-Man in the MCU. And if they're just kind of introducing his character in the MCU in Spider-Man 4, then he probably won't show up in Secret Wars. However, it does kind of look like the Sony animated Spider-Verse could be connecting with the MCU after all, and we could see maybe an animated Miles Morales show up in Avengers Secret Wars. I think this would be really, really cool to see. In fact, they could do that and have whoever is going to be playing the live action Miles Morales in the MCU simply play the animated Miles Morales when he jumps over into the live action world in Secret Wars. That would be really, really cool. This would mean we'd have to wait until Spider-Man 5 to get introduced to him, but it would set it up in a very nice way. Tom Holland Spider-Man could meet Miles Morales in Secret Wars, and then in Spider-Man 5, he could run into Miles in the MCU and say, hey, I know your secret. I'm Spider-Man. Let's talk. Plus, not to mention, it seems like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse showed us the multiverse as Loki created it at the end of Loki Season 2 with the Yggdrasil tree. If you take a look, it looks pretty identical. So perhaps Marvel Studios and Sony were talking before Across the Spider-Verse came out and said, hey, these are our plans. This is what we plan to do. If you want to kind of line up a little bit, perhaps these are plans to have the two universes cross over in Secret Wars, or perhaps they're just trying to keep some continuity in between the two universes, even if it doesn't mean a big crossover. However, I would be pretty shocked if we didn't see at least one character from the Sony animated Spider-Verse cross over into the MCU for Avengers Secret Wars. And hopefully that does happen, fingers crossed. But go ahead and let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Spider-Man's future is bright, the future of Miles Morales is bright, and perhaps we'll see a crossover between the Sony Spider-Verse and the MCU relatively soon. But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if you subscribe and leave a comment, you're automatically entered in our giveaway for a chance to win a PS5, an Xbox Series X, some Marvel Legends items, and some DC items. The winner picks one item, and we pick one winner at the end of each month. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.